So we have some good news for a change. The nation's strictest privacy law just took effect to data brokers' chagrin. 2 years ago, California's Delete Act took effect. It required data brokers to provide residents with a means to obtain a copy of all data pertaining to them and to demand that information be deleted. Unfortunately, Consumer Watchdog found that only 1% of Californians exercised these rights in the first 12 months after the law went into effect. The chief reason was that residents were required to file a separate demand with each broker. With hundreds of companies selling data, the burden was too onerous for most residents to take on. On January 1st, a new law known as DROP, the Delete Request and Opt Out Platform, took effect. DROP allows California residents to register a single demand for their data to be deleted and no longer collected in the future. CalPrivacy then forwards it to all data brokers. Starting in August, brokers will have 45 days after receiving the notice to report on the status of each deletion request. If any of the broker's records match the information in the demand, all associated data, including inferences, so things that they may not have directly submitted or directly collected, which companies do that all the time, in case you guys didn't know, it must be deleted unless legal exemptions such as information provided during one-to-one interactions between the individual and the broker apply. To use DROP, individuals must first prove they're a California resident. So unfortunately, that is the first hurdle if you're trying to take advantage of this and you're not Californian. The author says, I used the DROP website and found the flow flawless and the interface intuitive. After I provided proof of residency, the site prompted me to enter personal information such as any names and email addresses I use, and specific information such as VIN, a vehicle identification number, and advertising IDs from phones, TVs, and other devices. He says it required about 15 minutes to complete the form, but most of that time was actually spent pulling the data from different locations, many buried in the system settings. The markup has an article that goes through how to find like your VIN, how to find your advertising ID on iPhone, on Android, on, I believe, several different models of popular TVs. It's a really good place to start if you're interested in taking advantage of this.
The Drop Act is so important. It makes the process so much easier. The fact that this law is only binding in California means that, a lot of us Americans are out of luck. It's very hard to get like very similar, like legal protections, like within the US, much less like in other countries as well, where they actually do have strong data protection like legislation, such as in Europe, for example. And I hope that other states do follow along and to make like data deletion a much more seamless process here. The fact that only one click is needed to delete your data from 500 data broker companies, like, is also like very neat, but also scary because first off, why do 500 companies have my data?
You never consented to the, and even if you do take the time, the 40 hours to read the terms of service and the privacy policy, they're so vague, like, oh, we reserve the right to share with our trusted business partners, which includes 123 data brokers that you've never heard of. It's only going to do so much because, I'm not in California. I'm not a California resident. When am I going to have access to this? When can I tell those companies that I didn't consent to this, that I don't even know who they are? Why do they have my data? We really need a national privacy law.